Backyard bee builder here. It's a beautiful day. It's probably one of the last we'll have this season. So here you can see I've got all my candy boards stacked up and made. And I think it's time to get them put on. So let's get this work done. Okay, it's getting real. I'm all suited up and I'm getting ready. Here you see I've got my quilt boxes ready to go because I'm going to put those on the same time I put on my candy boards. As you can see, I'm all suited up. I've got a giant suit on, and I've got a reason for that. But I'll talk about that in another movie. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on some of the tips I have for which suit to wear. But let's get set up and we'll get this done. I'm getting ready to stuff my quilt boxes. You can see here, this is what I'm using. It's just some shavings off of some wood. I actually got this from a local wood shop that had some wood shavings that they'd let me have. This works. This is great. You can go to IFA or any other store that have wood chips or wood shavings for animal packing, and that works great in quilt boxes as well. This was just something I had on hand, so I'm going to use it. If you do choose to use this kind of shavings, just make sure that it's not sawdust. You don't want the dust in there. It'll just make a mess of your hive. So that's what we're packing with today. Here we are getting ready to dive into a hive, to put the quilt box on and also to put the sugar board on. So let's get going. I've got my hive tool and my smoker. And just crack the lid up a little bit. Give them a little smoke. Just so they don't get too frustrated. And yeah, you can see they're really calm. That's a good sign. I'm just going to give them a touch of smoke to see if they'll move down a little bit so I don't squish them with my honey box. Now first off, I'm going to put on my sugar board. Now when you put on your sugar board, make sure it has a top entrance. Because they're still going to need to get into the top, and circulation is key, especially in the winter time. They need that circulation to make sure that the moisture stays out of the frames. So here, you just set it right on top of the frames. Make sure that it seals really well so there's not any issues with robbing. Next, on my sugar boards, I'll usually get a pollen patty and put on there, so they also have some pollen to get them through the winter in case they run out of their own stores. And I'll just set that right on top of the sugar board. Now that that's installed, I can go ahead and get my quilt box. You can see my quilt box is full of those wood shavings, and that'll help the condensation point diffuse and keep them dry by soaking up the moisture out of the frames. Once you have that on, you can go ahead and replace your lid. So with this, they still have a top entrance and a bottom entrance for circulation. Now before I do this, I'll usually go through my hive and make sure that it's queen right. It has a queen in it. She's laying eggs. Everything looks good, and they have the resources they need for the winter. I do that because once I put these extra 2 boxes on, it's more difficult to get into the hive. And so if I do it now, I know that I've got a little while before I have to check on her again, and she's probably set for the winter. Here it is to give you a little bit better view on what's going on. You can see the bees are just kind of huddled in here. They're pretty lazy, pretty calm. And in order to get them down so I don't squish them, I'll just give them a little bit of smoke. That just encourages them to drop down a little bit. You can see that this top box is clear full of honey, and that's what we want. We want to make sure that they have the resources they need to make it through the winter. But just in case, we're going to go ahead and put a sugar board on them. To put it on, you put it on a little bit of an ankle. That makes fewer bees squish, and then you slowly twist it on. And that just helps them scoot out of the way before you squish them. Okay, with that on, I'll put a pollen patty on. I can just set that right here in the middle, and they'll use that if they need. And then on top of that, I put my quilt box. Now you can see the quilt box is just clear full of wood shavings. If you do have an inner cover, you can put it underneath the sugar board. It was probably where I would put it. I don't use inner covers, but they do seem to cut back on robbing a little bit. So if you do want to use one, you can put it underneath the sugar board or on top of the sugar board. Either way will work. Once you have the quilt box on, you can just replace the lid.